Good afternoon and welcome to another exciting conversation here on the Worthy for 30 podcast. I'm your host, Eric Tash. On the Worthy for 30 podcast, as a reminder, we delve into the lives of remarkable leaders who exemplify the convergence of success and benevolence. In our next episode, we sit down with Welcome Baby USA founder Sarah Steinhardt, former producer for ABC's flagship news programs and a pivotal force behind CNN's New Day. Sarah's journey through the high-stakes world of journalism and crisis management was driven by a commitment to delivering crucial information to audiences nationwide. However, after becoming a mother, her passion pivoted towards supporting underprivileged new mothers, recognizing the critical need for resources to aid in their postnatal care. Join us as Sarah shares her inspiring story navigating professional prominence while championing this cause of nurturing new life. And you'll quickly understand why Sarah embodies doing good while doing well. Welcome, Sarah.
Thanks, Eric. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. So let's jump right in. So you're a mother, a new mother, and passion of how do I help other mothers came to light. Can you explain when did that actually happen? And then when did you decide hey, there's something here in terms of creating a nonprofit?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think when you have your first child, it's a total shock to the system. It's both incredible and wonderful, and also it can be very, very challenging for a multitude of reasons. So I had my first son in 2015, in the middle of the winter, and I remember very vividly being 2 weeks postpartum and feeling, incredibly anxious, really had no idea what I was doing. And I had to go out to the pharmacy on the corner to get diapers. And it was snowing. It was cold. I was feeling just terrible, still recovering from giving birth. And I remember just sort of stopping on the corner and starting to cry. And there's something hit me in that moment. And I realized, I started sort of asking myself the question, if this is so hard for me and I have enough help and I have enough resources to get my child whatever he needs, how are so many families across the country doing this with no stable income, no stable housing, no familial support, and certainly no support from state or federal government? And at the same time, Eric, I had seen a flurry of press about the Finnish baby box. This is a program in Finland that's been going on for decades, in which every family giving birth to a baby takes home a box of critical items, everything that baby needs for the first few months of life. And it sort of started me on this kind of journey. I thought to myself, why can't we do that here? We could probably do this in a really cheap, efficient way, and it would have such an outsized impact on the back end. It took a few years to kind of get things up and moving. And my co-founder, Juliet, and I have known each other for now more than 20 years. And this whole time, that kind of in those intervening years, I thought, okay, Juliet's going to be the best partner for this. And it just sort of happened that way. We started packing these boxes from our living room floors. And now we work with a distributor based out of Florida. And that's where we are, 5,000 boxes later.
5,000 boxes later. So 2015, your first child. And then when did the doors open officially for Welcome Baby?
That was like January of 2019. I had a second child in that kind of, in those intervening years. Juliet had her first child. And, in the meantime, I had been doing a version of Welcome Baby from my apartment. I was working with, providing packages to Union Settlement, which is one of the oldest settlement houses here in the city. It's hard when you've got a couple kids running around and you're doing it in your living room and, you've got tons of Amazon boxes and wholesale boxes coming in, left and right. So it was really in 2019, the January of 19, that we started doing this in a much bigger way. And then at the end of 2019, we pivoted to work with this distributor based out of Florida. And doing that allows us to, have such a huge, wide geographic range. We're currently working in about 17 states, and we can get a box really anywhere in the country or really in the world within, 10 days.
Gotcha.
Usually a week.
Okay, wow. That's tremendous. So what's included in the Welcome Baby USA box?
Every box is standard. We provide 200 diapers, 100 size 1, 100 newborn size. a month's supply of wipes, 2 rash creams, bottles, pacifiers, swaddle blankets, a baby carrier, a thermometer and grooming kit, basic clothing items, baby wash, and sort of a baby's first book.
Oh, okay.
And that's, yeah, every single box has all of those items. We've gotten amazing feedback on everything, but we, especially, a baby carrier, which is such a critical item, especially if, for families living in cities, trying to navigate subways, buses, trains, getting their babies to, those first pediatrician appointments. So everything in the box is just so critical. And we kind of whittled it down to, those basic core critical items that kind of every baby needs. There are no luxuries in these boxes. These are absolute necessities that every baby and every new mother deserves to have.
Understood. And when it comes to understanding those necessities, are these, have you been consulting with pediatricians? Like who are some of the expert advisors that are helping you and Juliet decide what goes into those boxes?
So at sort of the outset, Juliet and I were, the parents of, at that point, we were the parents of 3. Now we are, between us, we have 7 children. So we had our own personal experience. We also, we talked with our own pediatricians. We talked with the social workers at the partner organizations that we started working with, and we got their feedback. We also spent the first year really distributing a survey to every recipient of a Welcome Baby box, asking what items were the most efficacious, what could they live without, what more did they need, and that actually informed the number of newborn versus size 1 diapers. It informed the kinds of basic clothing we included. We ended up changing the bottles that we included. So we kind of used that first year as an information gathering year. And we feel like we kind of nailed it. I have to say the feedback is almost like 100%, just so positive. And
well, yeah. That's amazing. Before I ask about the survey and getting feedback from the people who received, one, if I'm a new parent, how do I find out about Welcome Baby USA? And 2, once I find out, how do I qualify for receiving a Welcome Baby kit?
Yeah. So we distribute our packages through hospitals and community health clinics. And so if someone is interested in receiving a Welcome Baby package, we would urge them to contact their pediatrician or their local clinic or their local hospital and have them reach out to us. They can email us at info@welcomebabyyusa.org. Eric, the only thing that prevents us from being able to provide a box to every family in the United States, which is our ultimate goal, is funding. The more fundraising we can achieve, the more boxes we can get out into the hands of families who need it. And that continues to be the struggle. But in our lofty vision, any family who needs a box like this would have access to it.
Excellent. Once they become aware again through the clinics, through the hospitals, they can apply or reach out to the team at Welcome Baby USA. You mentioned, it's all about donations. Can you give us some semblance on, is it the individual that's donating to support Welcome Baby USA? I imagine, there's a multiplication factor, but there's also a corporate implication. You mentioned diaper rash creams. I used to work on Boudreaux's butt paste. So I'm starting to think and getting the wheels turning like, okay, who can I introduce Sarah to? So I'd love to hear your partnerships.
I love that. Thank you. That would be incredible. That's what I use on my kids. And in the box, we include A&D and Desitin, which I've also used with all 3 kids. Yes. So we rely on individual donations from people all over the country who find us via social media or word of mouth. And those are so critical. I would have to say that in 2023, we did kind of have a dip in individual donations, and we're still trying to figure out exactly why. I do think in talking to other nonprofit leaders that was sort of a industry-wide feeling, but individual donations are so important. We are also the very lucky recipients of annual giving from family foundations that have found us and really support our mission. And, we are working on the corporate donations. We have some wonderful partners who have made really generous donations. Happiest Baby is one of them. Infantino just announced that they would be giving Welcome Baby 250 baby carriers, which is a huge number because that is the most expensive item in our box. And that being able to save on that item allows us to send out more boxes in general. So yes, all of those fundraising streams are critical. We are in the process and have been spending a lot of time on applying for grants from larger foundations. That's a challenging landscape. There are so many worthy causes and only so much money to go around. And so we continue to plug away at that. So we're kind of, we're focusing on all of those.
Gotcha. And also before we get into, what 2024 looks like, you hit on something that's very relevant, is the fact that, individual donations or contributions have gone down in 2023. And speaking to other nonprofit leaders, they're also experiencing the same. Today's soon is going to be Giving Tuesday, not today, but soon it's going to be Giving Tuesday, which again is a tentpole event where, again, there's this, let's say, this huge outsized impact to donate and to do good or to give back. And I think last year, I'm just quoting Ben Irwin, the CEO of Charity Buzz, and another guest on the show, was I think during Giving Tuesday, I think $3 billion were raised, or $3.1 billion were raised on Giving Tuesday in 2022. But between Black Friday and Cyber Monday, retailers and for-profit organizations drove $20 billion in sales between those couple of days. So really, I would love to get your take on, should we be figuring out, okay, how do we make charity and giving back more of an everyday part of life thing, in addition to these, supporting these tentpole events? We'd love to get your perspective.
Yeah, that is such a great question. I don't know that there's a clear answer. So it's great to have a tentpole event like Giving Tuesday because it does, you can generate a lot of buzz. You can use it as sort of, like a plot line, or a plot point in the narrative of the year. And I think that's great. You can point to it. You can get people really, really motivated. I think the downside to having, one specific giving date is that people tend to wait and then use that as their only kind of point of giving. I believe firmly, I have, 3 kids, 3 boys, and I have a stepdaughter. I think that making giving back part of your child's life at an earlier age and then continuing that will change the next generation. I think that imparting upon kids and teenagers that, one of the most impactful things that one can do as an adult is to give back to those who are less fortunate, is something that we should be driving home every single day in all realms of our personal, professional, educational lives. It is definitely a struggle. It's hard to get people motivated. And so I think at Welcome Baby, we try to, find other points in the year when we can remind people that, giving back is great, it's fun and meaningful. Mother's Day, Mother's Day is a natural fit for a mission like Welcome Baby. And we can really rally people around that, that holiday. I would put quotes around that. But I think it's, at this point, it's just important to stay on people's radar. Badgering people is not one of the things that I'm most comfortable with, but I do think that at the end of the day, when, at least for Welcome Baby, when you can see exactly where your dollars are going, when you know that, your donation is going to a physical box with all of these critical necessities, and it's going to be in the hands of someone who really needs it within a week or two, I think that, that helps us in our case. Yeah, I hope that answered your question.
I think so. It's setting the example for the future generations, and also figuring out, not waiting till the end of the year, because like, oh my goodness, I can get a tax write-off if I donate a certain amount of money to all these various causes, but I'm going to wait until December 1st to do it. Versus, hey, a lot of these great causes need money throughout the year to operate and to fulfill their mission.
And I do think that there has to be a little bit of a sea change as it relates to how people think about nonprofits. I'm not the first person to sort of say this, but, nonprofits have typically always been forced to operate on very, very slim margins when, it's interesting because the more you're able to pay your employees, the more you're able to pay your nonprofit executives, the more and better work that they are able to do, and the more that they can actually impact the people that really, really need it. I know that there is an ongoing conversation in this country and all over the world about how we look at nonprofits. And I hope that continues. There are so many people in need, and there is plenty of money to go
Right.
around. And sometimes I think it's just a matter of sort of switching one's point of view a little
Yeah,
bit.
absolutely. If you have a CEO, and I'm not going to be the first one to say this, again, going back to my conversation with Ben, if you have a CEO in a nonprofit who is getting paid a lot of money, but their impact is 10, 100x that, of course they should be paid commensurate to their impact. So
Absolutely.
totally get it, totally understand, totally agree. Again, there needs to be a change in perception when it comes to nonprofits, because again, the dollars that are being raised are going to those causes. And one thing I want to come back to, Sarah, is the mother or the parent who receives the Welcome Baby kit. And again, the dollars that you donate to Welcome Baby, again, you see, in the form of that kit. How are you? What is that feedback loop? Again, if I donate to Welcome Baby USA, and again, that allows you to generate more Welcome Baby kits for new parents. What is that? Am I seeing that so and so receive this Welcome Baby kit because of my donation? Like, we just love to understand what that looks like, that transparency.
Yeah. So, we are pretty transparent in the sense that, it's about, for 2022, and it looks like for the most part 2023, about 26%, for every dollar that's spent, only 26% or 26 cents are spent on non-program initiatives. So that's, we pay for marketing and for some advertising and, just for some overhead. But, we try to post pictures of our recipients as often as we can. We do have to abide by HIPAA laws. We do also really value our clients' privacy above all else. So in cases where our packages are going to shelters, family shelters, especially domestic violence shelters, we do not, we do not even ask for photos. But, we have some partner organizations that are able to provide us with amazing photos of families, with their Welcome Baby boxes. And we try to utilize social media and our own, email list to try to show people as much as we can, exactly what it looks like when a family receives a Welcome Baby box, because oftentimes there are a lot of tears and there's a lot of joy and a lot of relief. So, and I think as we grow from a, sort of a very, very small nonprofit, or, maybe not so small, but a small nonprofit, and as we hire, more people to help us, we can even, increase that transparency and really show individual people that, their dollars went to this particular box. But the beauty of social media is that we can, disseminate these photos and folks can actually see where their money's
Oh,
going.
that's great. And again, it is the power of social media, which again is word of mouth on steroids. Speaking of impact and transparency, any sort of data that you and the team have in terms of that correlated impact on a Welcome Baby kit to development, new baby
Yeah.
development? We'd love to hear that.
Sure. Yeah. So, what was very exciting in 2023 is that one of our wonderful partner organizations, which is a Jacobi Medical Center here in the Bronx, we ran a sort of a study and administered a questionnaire to about 170 Welcome Baby recipients. And we were able to ask them questions like, did receiving a box like this help you do X, Y, or Z? And we got some amazing feedback. We now know that nearly 80% of the moms and families that received a Welcome Baby box were able to have more financial room to buy things like food. 40% said that they would use the money that they would have spent on all of those newborn items on just paying the rent. So, we also get anecdotal feedback really every month from all of our partner organizations telling us that moms were so worried about how they were going to get through those first months, how they were going to afford enough diapers, enough wipes, enough, a baby carrier, thermometer, and that, there are lots of tears and lots of relief. We know that study after study has shown that even brief periods of poverty in a child's life can have negative impacts throughout that child's life. And our feeling is that if we can kind of interrupt that in one small way, that, we are really doing our part.
Oh,
So.
wow. Again, the data shows, the impact. Going back to the surveying, you mentioned like the first iterations of the Welcome Baby Kit. You surveyed the recipients, like what's needed, what's not needed, what's a need to have versus a nice to have. For the entrepreneur, whether they're going to into the nonprofit world or going to the for-profit world, how important is it to speak to your customers?
Oh, it's so critical. I mean, from where we sit, it's so impossible for me to know exactly what one of our recipients might truly need. We can guess at it. We can guess that, pretty much every newborn is going to need X, Y, and Z. But you also, you have to hear it from the people that are actually receiving, these services. The other thing is that, there has to be a certain amount of trust built between the nonprofit and the people that it serves, so you want to feel like you're all playing on the same team, and to, inviting them into having a say in what we initially put into this box was really, I think, was very powerful for us. And I hope it was for them. So I think it's just totally critical. It's also, there can be a wide gap between where potentially I'm sitting and where, one of our recipients is sitting. How could we possibly ever, close that gap without having open communication? And we stay in close contact with all of the directors of each program. We check in, every month or every couple of months. And try to just gauge where we are, what the need is, how things are going, how we can make things easier. In the case of Jacobi Medical Center, these packages are being given out in their mother baby clinic, and so many of the families that receive them are taking public transportation. And so we now try to have a tote, like a bag in each box that they could actually sort of decant everything into the bag and then throw it over their shoulder as they're going home. So we make these small adjustments. Yeah, but I think it's critical to have that open communication.
Right, and open communication, but it's not like, the person requests or the mom requests the welcome baby kit, and then you send it and then they never hear from you again. It's that constant communication, that constant dialogue, or checking in vis-a-vis, a conduit.
There is some of that. I mean, we try to keep our communication purely through the social workers and pediatricians at the institutions we work with. We do not, and we cannot at this point have sort of direct communication between us and the ultimate recipient, but having the dialogue open between, their caregivers, absolutely. And we maintain that every month.
Okay. Wow. Because of HIPAA compliant, HIPAA and privacy.
HIPAA. And also I think, again, and sort of back to your point, because we are still growing, we cannot provide every single patient or every single baby born into all of these institutions with a welcome baby box. So we really rely on the social workers and pediatricians to distribute the boxes that we are able to provide to to the patients that perhaps need them the most. I'm proud to say, still on the track to be able to provide every baby born at Jacobi Medical Center with a welcome baby box. That is a 2024 goal for us. We'd like to duplicate that in a few of our other partner organizations in Ohio and Colorado and Indiana.
Okay,
yeah.
So speaking of 2024, what is on the roadmap?
Yeah.
You mentioned Jacobi Medical Center and some of the other partner institutions. Yes, help us give us an idea of what's on tap.
Sure. So in 2023, we're on track to have distributed more than 2,000 packages just in 2023. We're hoping to increase that to 3,500 packages in 2024. And part of that would include we have identified 5 partner organizations that we currently work with, in which we want to provide every single baby born at those within those kind of healthcare settings with a welcome baby box. And I think what that allows us to do is then gather more data, perhaps duplicate this survey in other states and other communities, and try to continue to show the efficacy of a welcome baby box. That's really the goal for 2024. As we hit 25 and 26, our goals become even loftier. And, we're looking at potentially, providing very large hospitals in a few different states with a box for every baby born in those hospitals.
Wow. Okay. So an additional 3,500 boxes in 2024 is the goal. Plus, again, being able to hand out welcome baby kits in not just Jacobi Medical Center, but in other partner hospitals or healthcare systems.
Yeah. I mean, we're currently working in 17 states. So we have, Mount Sinai is one of our partners, Indiana University. We work with the Nurse Family Partnership, another really wonderful national nonprofit in 3 different states. So yes, I think that is the goal.
How can we help Welcome Baby USA? I mentioned Boudreaux's butt paste. Tell us, how can we help?
Yeah. Right now, the biggest help that we can ask for is connections to these large companies in order to hopefully, create partnerships in which in-kind donations are made. Any product that we can have donated on a large scale helps enormously. And so, you mentioned Boudreaux's butt paste. I mean, to have a partnership with a company like that and have them, be able to provide, let's say, rash cream for a year, that makes a huge, huge difference in our bottom line, which then allows us to, provide more people with boxes. So that's how, I mean, you're asking, that's how you can help the most. Anyone listening to this, connections at Johnson & Johnson, connections, at any other major, pharmaceutical company or baby care company. That's our major ask.
Gotcha. Okay, the wheels are turning. Wheels are turning. So when we started this conversation, you mentioned, in Finland they provide welcome baby kits, all newborns or to their parents, and you mentioned that, of course, in the United States that's not reality. Have there been conversations at the state and federal level to try to figure out how do we make this part and parcel?
So there were, yes, Eric. Last year, I'm not sure if it started in 2022 or 23. We did have a conversation with the Department of Health and Human Services, and they were interested in running potentially kind of a pilot program in which they would distribute a version of a welcome baby box to families in need. I know that they partnered with Baby to Baby, which is a wonderful organization based out of LA, for that pilot program. We're hoping that we can kind of be part of the next iteration of that. In our eyes, it's so inexpensive to make this investment in families giving birth. This is such a small, each box costs between $150 and $160. That is a very small investment to make per person. And it has huge, huge effects, on both the newborn and a new mom. If you are able to reduce anxiety, reduce stress in a new mother, they're able to take better care of their newborn. If you're able to provide a newborn with an adequate number of diapers, now, I don't know if you know this, but 1 out of every 2 families in the United States is struggling to afford diapers.
I did not know that.
An adequate amount of diapers. That's 50% of families in the United States struggles to provide adequate diapers for their babies. So if you are a family and you are not able to provide enough diapers, you are looking at, you're forced to stretch diapers, you are increasing the risk of diaper rash, infections. All of this has sort of like a cascading effect, a snowballing effect on the larger family structure. So to be able to take those small crises out of the picture seems to me like a very worthwhile endeavor for, our federal government to undertake. But it is always uphill. I know that Senator Tammy Duckworth, I believe, had introduced a sort of a bill that would have made diapers more affordable. These things just take time. Unfortunately, just doesn't seem to be a lot of support or will to change the status quo. I know that maternity leave has been, or paid parental leave has been such a hot topic over the last couple of years. But when you think about the fact that 40% of women in the United States don't qualify for FMLA, and 88% of women working in the private sector lack any access to paid maternity leave, I mean, we really are starting at the very bottom. So the landscape looks a little bit dire, but I do have hope.
That's all you can resort to is hope. But it's amazing because you put in perspective, like the U.S. leads the Western world, and we are severely lacking when it comes to supporting moms, working moms, and providing basic necessities to young children.
Also just to note and to remind your listeners, and because this has also been a headline over the last, this has been a terrible headline, but the United States ranks dead last in comparable countries in their rates of maternal and infant mortality. We have an abysmal record on keeping our newborns and new mothers healthy and alive. That is simply, in our minds, it's unacceptable and hugely dangerous. It does not have to be that way.
No, it absolutely doesn't, and it's a horrible statistic to think about, and there's so much we can do, but maybe it's a combination of I don't know where to go or what to do, and it's a combination of just inertia and inaction.
I do think that's the case. I do.
So, Sarah, I want to end our conversation on a somewhat high note. For the folks who are listening who want to donate and support, where can they go?
So you can go to our website. Thank you for asking that, Eric. Our website is an easy way to donate. If you navigate to welcomebabyusa.org, in the top right, there's a donate button. You can also scroll down to the bottom and there's a donate button down there. We will add you to our email list. We are, you'll sort of be able to read up on the work that we're doing each month. The donations are so appreciated. They are going to the most vulnerable members of our society, which are newborns and postpartum mothers. So, we feel this is like a really worthy cause.
It's absolutely worthy cause. I think this hits home. Again, I have a 7-year-old daughter, a 3-year-old son. Yeah. So, again, this is. I'll put it this way: there's I'm appreciative, of all the help that we received, when especially when my daughter Sydney was born, and I think it's just taking a step back, and not everyone is in that same position. So there's some, as small as, and again, it's not even small, but just a kind action in terms of supporting what you guys are doing, it goes a long way. So I really do appreciate your time, Sarah. The listeners appreciate your time. And then for anybody who has questions directly for you, where can they find you?
So you can email me at info@welcomebabyusa.org. I will, reply back immediately. We welcome lots of questions, welcome, all feedback, welcome partnership, questions. Yes, the more dialogue we can have with people, the better it is for everyone. So please reach out.
Excellent. I will put that email address and all the other resources that Sarah mentioned in the episode write-up. Sarah, again, a pleasure having you on the show today, and we look forward to staying in touch.
Thanks, Eric. Thank you for having me.